Welcome to War Games, hosted by the sales genius Joe Ingram.
Am I the only one that can't see the intro?
Welcome to War Games, hosted by the sales genius Joe Ingram. If you're looking to win the sales battle, then you have joined the right team. In the War Games group, we devise strategies for sales, marketing, branding, mindset, and attitude. We enlist the assistance from the most successful producers across all industries. We then share their knowledge and techniques with you. Our single goal is to get you ready for your next sales opportunity. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that have crossed before you. Now, prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for the War Games to begin.
Are we play this game?
Hello, War Gamers, and those of you watching us on Sales Genius Podcast. So I want to welcome you to an inspiring episode, where today we're diving into the journey of resilience and growth with our special guest, Jon Dwoskin. He's an acclaimed business coach and the visionary CEO of the Jon Dwoskin Experience, which is pretty cool that the experience matches his name. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. But his remarkable story started at 18, sparked by the psychology of success. This ignited his lifelong passion for self-learning, personal development, setting him on a path of continuous growth. His journey was marked by challenges, including a pivotal moment at 31 when he was diagnosed with dyslexia, which I can tell you he's already overcome, right? This turned into an opportunity where he developed unique strategies to help other people's flourish. So he's one of those people that finds himself in a situation, finds a way out of it, but then helps others to come out on the other side. Overcame a health scare issue that reshaped his whole outlook on life. And so beyond business, his heart lies in mentoring and philanthropy, and he's a guiding light with supporting cancer survivors. So I want us all today to join Jon Dwoskin as he unfolds the art of getting unstuck. And I think we all can relate to the fact that we've been stuck more than once in our life. I'm going to throw some VIPs on the screen. JR is here with us. Yeah. Bob Donnell is here with us. Brian Gelke snuck in on the side. Welcome, Brian. And of course, we're going to bring Jon up onto the stage. Jon, welcome. Let me move everybody around so we can say Jon is the one we want to be listening to today. So, Jon, as you can tell, people are interested. They're like, hey, let's listen to Jon and get unstuck based on what we put out there. But I want to know that, can you define for us real quick what would be your stuck? Because I don't know that everybody understands and keeps stuck as the same thing. I look at it as, you know what? I know I should do something and I'm not doing it, right? There's action to be taken and I'm not doing it. So that's what I look at and say, Jon, help me a little bit.
Yeah, stuck is, well, thanks guys for having me. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here. Being stuck is basically resistance, right? We resist what we need to do most. And that's just kind of human nature. And we get stuck in the narrative and the story of why we resist something that we need to do most. In business, where it showcases itself is, people get stuck in laggard activities versus leading activities to grow their business. They get stuck in admin work, or they get stuck in things that don't actually grow their business. And then they kind of, 3 months down the line, they open up their eyes and like, wow, I haven't grown my business. But when they reflect and they look back, it's all these little moments where they just let resistance get in the way and they didn't plow through it. And so that gets us to be stuck. And we need somebody in many cases, and I think everybody on this call probably has been in the position where, they can mentor somebody and just put up a mirror, what's hidden in plain sight to, the mentor, to help somebody get unstuck with just a small little 1% shift or even smaller. And that just gets them moving. So it's really, the more you fight with resistance and justify it, the more stuck you get. The more you surrender to guidance on getting over the resistance and plowing through it, the sooner you'll get unstuck.
So can we also throw back that this is you're stuck in the habit of being busy as opposed to being productive and going forward? Because I know several people that go, I need coaching. I need someone to help me. And I'm like, okay, what do you need help with? They're like, I don't know, but I do a whole bunch of this. I do a whole bunch of this and a whole bunch of this. And I'm like, none of that got you paid. None of it moved you forward, kind of thing. So again, if you can find relatability in that, then you know exactly what he's going to give you is going to be the ticket you need to move forward. So
I just have I'm a business coach. I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies and everything in between. But I also have another company called Launch 3, which is a coaching platform for 18 to 26-year-olds. And I just got off the phone with somebody who was thinking about joining, and they were like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I said, all right, well, here's the program. We priced it so everybody can afford it. It's about $25 a month, but they're not going to join. And the reason they're not going to join is they know they're lost. They know they're stuck, but they don't have the intrinsic grit to want to kind of get, do something for themselves, invest in themselves to kind of plow through it. And so it's hard. I think we can all agree on this call. It's hard when you see somebody who's got this potential and this, they're half a step away, but they're not willing to kind of dive in.
No, I completely agree. I get that. But I mean, talk about affordable. I mean, it's not like your barrier to entry was price. It was vision, right? And so, but no, that's fantastic. Because again, the same issue in 18 to 23-year-old, I have the same thing over at 55 years old. So I think it's fantastic. So I'm just going to go change my birth date and join the group. So perfect. John, so how does one facing it? Go for it, JR.
Yeah, I have a quick question, John, for those, because I know there's a number in that 18 to 26. It's a remarkable service, first of all, at any price, but especially at $25 an hour. Is that a copay where there's something going on the back end with mental health from insurance, or how do you produce that for just $25 an hour? We're all astounded.
Well, it's 25
but
it's $25 a month, and it's model to scale. It's a model to scale. Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, and there's no wellness, there's no insurance. I mean, it's a pretty great program. We've got great speakers on Wednesdays, and want to get Joe in there, and mentor hubs, and we wanted to make it affordable to every person that age who we know maybe does not have a lot of discretionary income.
Yeah, well, that's great. And so they can just contact you through jondwoskin.com for that also?
Yeah, or launch-3.com for that one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Pardon my interruption, gentlemen, but
no.
It's an exciting part. I
appreciate it. Thanks so much, JR.
Yeah,
no problem.
Now you've scared everybody to think there's a copay and it's a mental health.
And there is no catch. It's beautiful.
Right.
Exactly. $25 a month. Come on.
I can't afford it.
Right.
Come on, under $1 a day. Seriously.
Right.
Perfect. Okay. So John, coach us as far as how does somebody get unstuck? How does we now know that you're busy doing stuff you shouldn't be doing, right? Because that resistance barrier is there, right? Give me a couple ideas or a couple steps that would lead me towards getting unstuck.
Yeah. So, I think, today we're recording this. It's the beginning of 2024, January 3rd. I think one of the things that is very relevant for people is distraction. They're more distracted. They, as every day goes forward, people are more and more distracted. We could list all the reasons why, but I think we know everything that's going on in the world that just brings those distractions. You layer in technology, you layer in being distracted by every single text, every email, every piece of news. It's not always easy, and just from a science standpoint, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% are negative, and 90+% repeat themselves every day. So we're already waking up like with it, with the importance of mindset. And so, okay, so if those are some of the key things that we know are kind of just headwinds, then as we reverse engineer, one of the key things that I think is really important to get unstuck is, and we can talk about business planning today, but having a business plan is key. But reverse engineering a yearly or a 3-year business plan, whatever you have, into a micro business plan. I believe that this year specifically is all about the micro business plan. It's all about micro actions to move yourself forward. And depending on your shelf life of, how long you can go without getting distracted, again, getting in front of distraction, then maybe your micro business plan is anywhere from a day to a week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks to 30 days. And then whatever that shelf life is of yours, you need to know that if you create the micro business plan with goals that are specific and that are measurable, that have an owner and a deadline, then if I then use my calendar to time block and set appointments with myself to say, okay, every Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at this specific time, I'm going to create my upcoming weekly or my next day micro business plan. And so if you really stay focused, then you can really help, again, with the headwind being distractions of all different types. A micro business plan gets you hyper focused into the moment of whatever your shelf life is. You surround yourself then with the proper mentors to kind of hold you accountable, help you with execution, stay on track, and grow your skill set and your best practices. Now, all of a sudden, you're playing the game at a totally different level. You're playing the game at a totally different level because most people get lost and they resist the big plan. They build a business plan and they never look at it. And so they just kind of go through their day doing things without any structure. And today, especially when people work on a hybrid level or, in the office, sometimes their managers are remote, it's really, really important to put structure into your day. So every goal has a system. Every system is then driven by a habit. And you build this routine and structure for yourself that gives you the guardrails on how to consistently get yourself unstuck. So you're actually kind of putting in, you're creating your own system. And because of that, it's also really important to incorporate time to recalibrate. One of the big things that I see as a business coach, and I work with people around the globe, is that people have a really difficult time self-regulating. And so they don't know, they work to burnout and they don't incorporate recalibration into their day. And so if you start incorporating recalibration into your day, say, for example, a lot of people that I talk to say, you know what, I burn out by 3:00. And so if I'm coaching them, I say, okay, well, then let's reverse engineer that and find time to recalibrate so you don't burn out at 3:00. What do you need to do before 3:00 to make it to 5:00 or 5:30, whatever time? I'm not, it doesn't really matter for the sake of this discussion, but getting really disciplined in the whole flow of all of that. The next way that I can, any questions on that, guys?
So I'm sitting down doing, okay, for one, I love the idea of the micro business plan, like you said. So I put down the note, it's from 1 day to 30 days, right?
Correct.
So now for my own sanity, am I doing it task related, or is it a micro business plan that says I have to move the business this far? Because to me, when I go, oh, it's a small one, then my brain automatically goes back to make myself a checklist, go through and check off the list. Right.
Well, you want to, again, everybody's goal is different, but what I would recommend is you're doing something you're doing things that you can quantify growth. You can quantify daily growth. And so, everything needs to be specific and measurable, and you can definitely have your checklist and things of that nature. But what am I doing? What are my leading activities, my 3 leading activities that are specific and measurable that I can quantify? So, for example, I set up 1 appointment every single day, as an example. I talk to 2 new people every day, as an example. There's certain things that if you do on a consistent basis, they compound. And I think everybody would agree on this call, they just compound over time. A penny that doubles every day for 31 days is $10.7 million. But it isn't until day 26, 27 that you really begin to see the compound effect take into effect. And so the consistency of small movements, my thing is about thinking big. And thinking big to me is doing the small things every day that create a big impact. And so it's making sure that you're doing the things, Joe, to your point, that are moving the business forward, that are growing the pipeline. So at the end of the day, I can look at my pipeline, I can say, my business grew today. I can look at my calendar and say, my business grew today. I had a lot of appointments. My business grew today because ... If you can't say, you don't want to be able to say, my business grew today because I did admin work all day. I grew my business today because I databased all day. I grew my, those are prime activities that you want to do,
Right.
non-prime hours. And so, if you're talking to a client, on your way to a client, meeting with a client, doing something to network with clients, those need to be a bulk of your leading activities.
John,
Yeah.
So when you were saying that, I was thinking back many decades, because Joe always reminds me how old I am, about Tom Peters, who said, if you can map something out, you have. I was there when they invented dirt, but I don't remember what they had before that. That was the Stamp Act.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said 80% of success is just being able to map out a plan to get there. And I heard that echoed again with you, because you're just creating you're simplifying see what you're doing. So you're 80% just there, even before you get this success formula of habitually doing the 3 most productive things.
Right.
Because successful people do by design what unsuccessful people shun by nature.
Correct.
And so when you're doing that, and when you're 80% right before, I was just excited hearing this and having, Joe, 2 things finally clicked watching these things and being part of it all these years with you here. But but it was just so cool, because am I grossly overstating this, or is this an aha moment?
I can't answer that for you, but
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I think maybe both for you, JR. But I think I do my best as to break things down into very simple things. I can't pronounce big words, so I don't really use them. I just like to break things down into kind of kindergarten to 2nd grade level, so people can digest it, right? So that and I work with solopreneurs to Fortune company executives and managers and salespeople and everything in between. And what I hear from them is kind of similar to what you just said. It's kind of like, wow, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And I think one of the things, especially today when we talk about distractions, is messaging needs to be very clean and clear, so people of all ages can digest something and be able to understand how they can implement it. And so one of the things that I think gets people stuck to your point, is if I'm leading people and I can't be and I'm not a clear messenger, and I can't break things down to the simple, then I leave a room full of confused people, which gets them stuck because they don't know where to go or how to move through the next moment. And so most people don't know what to do right now, and they don't know what to do next. And so leadership today, it's not, I'm 51. And so, 30 years ago, it was like you figure it out. Today, people, I don't know if they have fully the tools to figure it out on their own without the proper mentorship and guidance. And that needs to be broken down into the simple, so people know what their do now, do next is, and it keeps on repeating itself, and simplify till you can't simplify any longer.
Perfect. I got a question for you, just because, reviewing the bio, going through everything here, but your whole entire journey emphasizes the importance of continuous learning, the personal growth, right? Yeah. Can you share your philosophy on self-improvement and how individuals can effectively integrate the lifelong learning into their daily lives? Because I think that's where, again, your micro business plan, right? That makes perfect sense, because now it's bite-sized.
Correct.
Right? Where if I look and go, here's the business plan for 5 years, it seems so daunting. It's so simple to go, just shut up and do a 3-day business plan.
Yeah.
Right. But I know up on my wall is going to be a poster now that says, my business grew today because ...
Yeah.
So that anytime I'm doing something, I'll be like, that's why my business grew today. So I thank you for that one. But how do we incorporate this lifelong learning?
Sure. 1 to 5 minutes a day. It's really, when you're looking at personal growth, people feel overwhelmed today, right? So again, we look at the headwinds. People feel overwhelmed. People feel stressed out. People feel distracted. People feel like they're pulled in so many different directions. And so, if personal growth fuels you, it fuels me. I'm always in a mode. When I was 18 years old, my dad gave me a set of tape sets by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Success. He said to me, Jonathan, I think you'll learn more from these people than you will college. And I was actually telling somebody this story today. I graduated with a double major in economics and journalism. And if it wasn't for my dad giving me those tape sets that those and so many other tape sets and books that I read every single day through college, I've done it every day since then, including today. I don't know what I would have done when I graduated college, right? Because, today when you graduate college, everybody's talking about your job and your internship. When I graduated college, I don't even know if my parents thought about what I was going to do. I started an internet company in my parents' basement with my brother, and we sold it 2 years later. And had I not had the experience of learning from these tapes and books that I was reading and listening to, I don't know how I would have made certain decisions that I did. And my 2 business partners were also committed to it. So we were always reading the same books and listening to the tapes and talking about it. And we literally were growing our business based on what we were learning in real time. So to me, it's absolutely critical. The Launch 3 platform that I shared with you is that. It is that to give people something made easier in today's world with technology that we can do. But for those who want to commit to it, just commit to 1 minute a day or 2 minutes a day or 3 minutes a day. And maybe that's reading 1 page a day, listening to a podcast for 2 minutes a day, listening to an Audible for 3 minutes a day. Keep it really small. If you do more, great. I work with a lot of salespeople, and a lot of times I'll say to them, like, hey, how many calls are you going to make this week? They're going to be like, 200. I'm like, well, how many do you usually make a week? They'll say 10. As well, law of proximity shows that if you make 10 a week, you can't now make 200. You just won't be able to. How about go to 11? And then when you get comfortable at 11, go to 12. And then et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing. If you're not used to doing it on the daily, then start with 3 days a week for a minute, and then grow from, once you get comfortable, do it for 3 minutes. But start small and work your way up.
Fantastic. I love again, bite size, right?
Right.
1 to 5 minutes.
I have one more thing to say. A lot of people who are probably listening to this, and a lot of the people that I coach, they're type A, all or nothing people, right? And so we've all been kind of wired. It's like all or nothing. You either work out for an hour or you don't work out. You either do X, Y, Z. You either sit down and read an entire book or you don't at all. That's not realistic. And so it's okay to look at a book and say, you know what, I'm going to read this book over the next 6 months. I don't care if everybody says this is a 1 hour read. I'm going to read it over 6 months, and I'm going to read a page a day. It's okay that I don't feel it. If I don't feel like working out for an hour every day, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do a 10-minute morning routine that is something to just get me grounded. So one of the things I recommend to people when I coach them is giving themselves options. Option 1, option 2, option 3. And as you plan out your week, pick an option. Option 1 is something for a minute. Option 2 is maybe for 10 minutes. Option 3 is maybe for whatever you determine. But get in front of where you're going to be distracted and stuck, and then reverse engineer a plan that you can kind of settle into.
Okay. Again, for everybody who's listening like me going, sorry, John, that's just too easy. It can't work. Right. But again, I'd like you to make it harder if you could. So that way I could feel that's another reason for me to be stuck, is I'm going to blame it on it. It's too difficult. Yes.
Right.
So no, fantastic. All right. Creeping up on 30 minutes. I know you've got a day ahead of you. So I'm going to recap at this point. I need a micro business plan. Okay. I need to be looking at a 1 to 30 day plan, depending on what I'm doing. Right. And again, each person, I take it as, if you're a let's do it now person, then I would have a 1 day business plan. Right. If I'm the type A, got to get stuff done and I got to do it, I'd be building it out. I think like my head automatically goes 3 day. It's a 3 day business plan. Put together a 3 day business plan to move forward. Very reminiscent of along the same lines as Ed Milet says, you have 3 days in 1 day. If you budget it right, that's how you can get, more hours in a day. But I gotta do now. Give me an example if you could, because as I go through recalibration, you said, bless you, daily recalibration. What does recalibration look to Jon Dwoskin? That way you don't have to make up something. You can say, this is what I do to recalibrate. So
what does it look like for me?
For you, because I know like Brian and I are one of those people that we just sit down and go, even though we're exhausted, we're still going, trying to get to the end. And I know that if I look at it the next day, I'll be like, you could have done so much better going this way. And now I'm like, great, let's start all over again on day 2 instead of that. So what does recalibration look like for you?
Recalibration for me looks like I'm in my home office and I have a certain chair that I sit in my house. And in my office, I have a chair in my office. And what it looks like for me is I'll get up, I'll leave my phone at my desk, and I will just sit and breathe for anywhere between 1 and 3 minutes to get into a space where I'm thinking about nothing. If I don't do that, I'm going for a walk around my block, or I work in a downtown area. So I go and I walk around outside to just kind of connect with nature. I just need to walk away for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then I can come back and kind of be refreshed. So that's it. It's not, and to your point, hey, this sounds so easy, make it difficult. The people who are making it difficult are the ones having the panic attacks. They're stressing out. They're waking up with anxiety, right? They're doing all of this and they're driving themselves crazy because it's not the rhythm that they need to be. And some people say, well, when I was 20, I did extra. Right. Well, when you were 20 is different than when you're 50. Your rhythm changes. And so people sometimes don't, my iPhone stopped working. It just was going black. The screen was going black for like 3-4 hours. And so I went to the Apple store this week and I said, what's going on with my phone? They said, oh, nothing. You aren't letting it die. And because you're not letting it die on its own and you're keeping it charged, the phone will turn off and sleep by itself for a couple hours because it needs to reboot itself. Wow. And it's the same thing. So it's like the same thing for us. If we don't do it, we're going to hit a wall. We're going to get burned out. And it should be easy. It should be easy because when it's easy, that means you're in alignment, you're in flow. It means you're doing things right and you're balancing everything so you get better ideas. You know, a lot of times people forget about the ideas that come to them when they slow down, the refinement, the refreshing of things, the nuance, the edge ideas that give you that 1% edge. Those come to many people. I'm sure, you know, I hear this all the time. I get my best ideas when I'm in the shower. I get my best ideas when I'm walking. That's because those people are in a meditative, recalibrated state. And so it's really important to find the easy. It shouldn't be hard because you've been wired to believe it has to be hard to be great.
Right. No, I agree. I'm going to go back and say it's not as difficult as people say. This was too easy, Jon. That's still
I
in
make
my
things
head.
easy, Joe. I make things easy.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to go out there. Everybody needs to put in the structure and the guardrails. I love that. I wrote down guardrails because we need that part to stay in alignment. You can go faster. I can throw the bowling ball faster when the rails are up than I can trying to hold it down in the middle of the lane to get a strike. So that works. So perfect. I'm going to ask any of the VIPs here have any questions.
So, Jon, it was a great conversation. I love the 80% that I can focus on in the 1, 3, 5 day formats.
Yeah.
I thought about the other 20%. It's not getting into the squirrel mode and knowing what the 80% is so much that you focus on it.
Yeah.
And you keep the other stuff out. I don't know if that adds to 100%, but if you can see where you're going and actually go there and not do other stuff along the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you. Thank you,
I
Jay.
can understand this stuff. This is too simple, man. You gotta have more like him.
No, I like it. Thank you.
It.
Thank you so much, Jon. I think it's great right now what you've given us. And again, I have a group of people behind me that are up here that are training who are writing down, oh my gosh. And I'm like, good, get unstuck, right? Yeah. And again, the secret is what? If you break it down to something so simple as to the 1 to 3 minutes, whether it's your calibration of breathing, whether it's the fact you're going to do your personal development for 1 to 3 minutes, just get in the habit of taking the action, and you can't be stuck if it's already there. Now, Is it wrong that my brain wants to go in and set calendar reminders that pop up and tell me, hey, go unplug. Yeah. Go do this? Is because to me, I'm like, oh, if my phone just popped up and said, hey, it's time to do self-help, right? We can all listen to an audiobook. I think Brian and I kill audiobooks like 2-3 a week kind of deal with our driving habits. But again, my answer would be if I'm in my office, if I'm sitting down working with someone to pop something in my head that's going to help me for 1 to 3 minutes, I think that's fantastic. So would that be acceptable in the process? Right. Because to me, that would be the guardrail.
So I'm a big fan that everyone should become a master student of their calendar. And a calendar should be an extension of everybody's brain. You know, there's a story, an old story by Albert Einstein, that someone would ask him his phone number and he would go to the phone book and look it up. And they would say, Mr. Einstein, you're one of the smartest people in the world. You don't know your own phone number. And he would say, I don't like to waste my brain power with information that's easily accessible. My calendar is my whole life. It's an extension of my brain. I write everything down. I don't have a to-do list. All my to-dos are color-coded in my calendar. All my calendar is completely color-coded, and everything that I do is in my calendar. So I can study my calendar at the end of every day and at the end of every week. And when it comes to recalibrating, I'm putting that into my calendar so I don't have to think about it. The key thing, Joe, and everybody, is when you put it in your calendar, don't resist it and do it. Treat it as a very important meeting with yourself, and know that if you don't resist it, then you will benefit from it later in the day because you've given yourself the reboot of energy that you need. But no, I'm a big fan. I do a lot of time management keynotes and trainings all over the country where I teach people kind of a system of time management that I've come up with that helps people save just tons and tons and tons of time to really, like you said earlier, kind of work 3 days in one or 3 years in 1 year and really kind of be as efficient, as effective as possible.
Perfect. Jon Dwoskin, I appreciate you. Everybody, jondwoskin.com. It's next to his name, and it's literally scrolling across the bottom of the page. Not a healthcare worker charging you office visits like JR wants him to, but he's definitely going to make a difference in your world if you break it down to the easiest thing done. And you know what? He's already done it. So what's the easiest move? Contact Jon.
Thank you.
And go from there. But Jon, thank you so much. VIPs, thank you for being on. And for everybody watching, I appreciate you all. And go out and sell something.
Thanks, everybody.